Okay, so we talked about what happens when Win were to roll and get a result of a walk or a strikeout and how that works in box seat baseball. Now, I want to talk about what happens if he rolls a result where the ball is put in play. And this is where I really feel like the game starts to show its chops. And one of the things that really drew me to it is, the fact that in some games, a ground out to second base is a ground out to second base, but in box seat, ground outs are unique in many ways. They get to show you kind of how the play unfolds, and the name box seat baseball I think is appropriate for the game because it really does feel like you're watching the game close up. And when you see a play unfold, it's almost like you can sense it when it hits the bat, what might happen, and that's just an amazing thing about this game that I really enjoy. So let's talk about when potentially putting the ball in play here. And there's some results in blue, and there's some results in red. They can be balls in play. I'm going to focus on the blue first, and then I'll either switch to the red in this video, or I'll do a separate video on the reds, which are going to be the hit checks. So if you roll a 13 on Wynn's card and he's facing a right-handed pitcher like Tom Seaver, you're going to see the notation RG1. So that is a regular grounder 1. And there are 3 types of ground balls in box seat: hard grounder, regular grounder, slow grounder. They're pretty self-explanatory when you think about the ball coming off the bat and approaching a fielder. There are also multiple types of fly balls as well: long flies, normal flies, short flies, and then there are also deep flies. We're going to cover those separately because those could end up as home runs. But if you roll a 13, Win is going to hit a regular grounder 1. So a regular grounder means it's hit moderately hard, and it is likely going to result in an out. The only way it will not result in an out is if the red die were a 0. And in this case, the red die is a 5. So it's not going to be an error. It's just going to be a regular grounder. There's 2 ways you can resolve the play. And in this video, I'm just going to focus on the resolving the out part of it, not base advance or anything like that. Let's assume the bases are empty. We'll cover base advance in another video. But let's assume he's hit a regular grounder 1. I mentioned that I play the limited flip card version of Under the Hood. So with that, you get a stack of 100 double-sided cards. And the thing I like about these is they add a lot of variation to the play. And once you learn how to use them, they're really easy to use. So Win hit an RG1. If you look at the top line of the card, you see HG, RG, and SG. So that's hard grounder, regular grounder, slow grounder. And you see 4 columns across the top. He's hit an HG1, so you're going to look under column 1, and you're going to see that it was hit to the third baseman. So the Mets third baseman, probably Wayne Garrett, fielded the ball, and he threw Win out. In these plays, somebody's always going to be out. And in this case, with nobody on base, it's the batter. Now, preview for a future video, you can see next to the third base notation an asterisk. That would mean that if a force play were in order and there were 2 outs in the inning, the third baseman would take the short route to second and get the force to end the inning. If there were no asterisk, he would go to first and get the out. And then you'll see a bunch of notations after that with slashes between them. And that's going to tell you what the base advances are. And again, I'm not going to cover this here. I'm going to cover it in another video. So you have a hard grounder, it's hit to third, and Win is out, and you're done. And that's that at bat. The other way to resolve it is to use the charts that come with the game. And here you can see with bases empty, there's a column that says GB1. And in this chart, every ground ball is kind of folded under one of these 4 columns. So GB1, GB2, GB3, GB4, and that resolves who it's hit to. And then the base advance is resolved kind of on the side of this chart. And again, out of scope for this video. But the way that you resolve it from here is you look at the red die, and I showed you earlier, the red die is a 5. So under a GB1, you see 4-5, it's hit to the shortstop. So in this case, it's hit to Bud Harrelson, and he throws Winn out. And that's how you resolve that play. The only thing I don't like about the charts is if you roll a 0 on the red die, then you have to check for an error. And there is no 0 on this chart for obvious reasons, because it wants to alert you that there's a possible error. Then you need to roll again to get the fielder. And if you roll a 0, you have to roll again. So I just like the simplicity of flipping this card and knowing that it's the third baseman, and then I just resolve the play. On the flip side of the card, you have an HG1 would be hit to the second baseman. So Felix Millan would make the play here and throw Winn out. So in that case, HG1, ground out, play's over. Winn doesn't have a lot of balls in play that are outs on his card. There are only really 3. At 13, you have an RG1. Over at 56, you have a PU1. That stands for a pop-up. And if you look at the different types of outs, the first 4 rows represent those. You have the grounders, you have the fly balls, you have pop-up and line out, which would go to the same position, whichever it would be, a pop-out or a line out. And then an FP is a foul pop. And you can see the different columns there. The third place that he has a potential out is on 41, where you see RNG-HG1. So that is a case of where it's a hard grounder and you're going to do a range check on the fielder. So if we came over here and we got an HG1 and it was the second baseman, you'd be checking Millan's range to see if he made the play, if he got to the ball. So this is where, the game starts to get really interesting, because you're testing fielder capabilities in this situation. So you may have an error check in some cases if you roll a 0 on the red die. In this case, you have a range check that will test the fielder's range. So that's how the blue results that are balls in play work. And I think I am going to shift to another video and describe the hit process, because it's a little bit more involved. But we'll see you then. Thanks.